A very pleasant good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon rush. It is the rush, and my name is Randolph Critchlow. Thank you very much for joining us on this Thursday afternoon. This is the 29th of April 2021. One more day remaining in the beautiful month of April, and welcome to those persons joining us internationally, in the region, and right here in Guyana. We are always happy to have you on the rush. We start at 6 o'clock again this afternoon. We might end up sticking to the 6 o'clock time. I think the 6 o'clock is a little more comfortable for me. So, we might be doing the 6 o'clock hour in the future. But, folks, we are ready. We are here. Welcome and good afternoon to all of you who are joining us on the live. As usual, we like to ask you to share the live stream. We are also live on YouTube for those persons who like to watch us there on YouTube. Mr. Henry, of course, already shouting us out from YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in on the YouTube, Mr. Ian Mr. Ian Harry shouting us out from YouTube. Right. As we do on the afternoon rush, we like to ask you where you're joining us from. Let us know where you're coming from, where you're seeing the program this afternoon. Let us know. Shout out in the comments, and we will, of course, give your community, your neighborhood, your country, your region a nice shout out here on the afternoon rush. Thank you very much for being a part of what we're doing here. Right, so we see some names coming in already. Barbados is in the house. Thank you very much, Barbados. Right. We're going to be talking about all the issues. I know people are commenting, putting in the comments what they want to hear this afternoon. But we're going to be touching on a lot of the major issues. Be not afraid. We're going to be talking about all that. St. Martin is in the house. Thank you very much, St. Martin, for being a part of this. Remember, guys, let us share the live stream. I'm about to do the same. I'm about to share the live stream, so I hope that you can do that also. Share the live. Let me go share it in a few other locations so all of our friends and family will know that we're about to unpack the credible, valid information. Credible and valid information. The only way we do it here on APNU AFC Afternoon Live. The afternoon rush, of course. Folks, thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for joining. Let me share a few other places. And as I do that, we ask you to do the same. Let everybody come in. It's a big tent. Let's everybody come out of the tent and let's unpack some of the valid information. Okay, I see we already shared a number of places. So Grenada is locked in. US is in the house. UK is in the house. Brooklyn, New York. Enmore is in the house. Long Island. Thank you very much for being part of the program. Let's go back. French Guiana, Linden. All of the wonderful places. Give us drop a comment. Tushen is in the house. Thank you very much. Minnesota. Minnesota. What can I say? Timberwolves. Tocqueville is in the house. My Tocqueville people. I spent 15 years as a teacher at Tocqueville Secondary, so there's a special place in my heart for the community of Tocqueville. Let's see who else is in the house. East Berbice is in the house. Virginia is in the house. Thank you very much. Locked in all over the world. New Jersey. Who else? Let me see. Georgetown, St. Lucia. Again, Brooklyn. Queens. Nabakalis. My good friends out there on the East Coast. Nabakalis, thank you very much for tuning this afternoon. Paradise is in the house. Cleveland, Ohio. What can I say about Cleveland? Cleveland Cavaliers. Folks, if you find that a little strange, what I do is I relate to the basketball team that comes out of some of these states and some of these cities. So whenever I see those cities, I remember the basketball team, and I give you your due. Right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers, all looking at is West Coast Barbies, Linden. I flat again. I flat you always in the house. Again, tell me if you're coming to some close to the university here in IFLAT. Bagastong is in the house. Brooklyn, Parfait, Harmony is in the house. Canada, Haslington, Linden, Crane. Lovely to have all of you in the house. Right? Harrington CT. Well, I really don't know what that CT is for, but maybe you can let us know exactly where you're coming from. Buffalo is in the house. New York, Coral Springs. Thank you very much. Hatfield Street, folks. Lovely to have all of you in the house to let us help me unpack, of course, all of what is happening in and around Guyana, folks. At 6:30, we'll be switching over, of course, to Miss Annette Ferguson. She has Across the Waves that will be coming on at 6:30. So I just have a few minutes to unpack, but it is a lot. We have a lot to unpack this afternoon, and we're going to get straight into that in a few minutes as about all of what is happening around Guyana. Right? We're going to be unpacking all of that in just a few minutes. Right. So as we give the others an opportunity to come in, as we hit that magic number, like my colleague Sheridan likes to say, as we hit that magic number, let me just ensure that I'm all ready for you. Good. As we hit that magic number, remember you can share the live stream. If you're on YouTube, remember to like, subscribe, and hit us up in the comment. Let us know where you're coming from. From Glasgow Village, Bartik is in the house, East Bank is in the house, Pleasance is in the house. Thank you very much. Number 77 Village is in the house. Is in the house. Thank you. Atlanta is in the house. Yesterday I gave Atlanta a little hard time when I said the Atlanta Hawks. But then I realized that Atlanta is number 5. They're actually playing very well. They're secured in that playoff spot. They're going to be making the playoffs. The Atlanta Hawks. So sorry, Atlanta, for giving you such a hard time yesterday, and I was ill informed. Right? I gave you a lot, but I have to give you a due. The Atlanta Hawks are playing pretty well. So sorry about that, Atlanta. All right. Montserrat is in the house. Turks and Caicos in the house. Right, Forest Hill, Queens is in the house. To Mary, welcome. Shout out to Essie Quibble. Thank you very much for being a part of this in Tortola, sorry, not tortilla chips, Tortola. Not tortilla. Tortola, they're tuned in there. Beirut is in the house. Holland is in the house. Liberty Avenue, South Ranville, South West Ranville. Thank you very much, all of you. Folks, let's get into it. Lovely to have you in the live stream. Lovely to have you here. Let's get right into it. It's been 423 days since the March 2nd regional and general elections, and the country still does not have results from those elections. 423 days. 423 days since the March 2nd regional and general elections. Right? It's 270 days since this administration would have been installed. And we have been dealing with this monkey on our backs of the PPP government. The monkey on our backs, that is the PPP government. 270 days of them. And again, folks, we continue to call them out on what they're doing. We continue to watch very, very closely at all that is happening in our country. And the opposition leader and the opposition MPs are keeping their feet to the fire. But let us start, as we gave you that number, let us start here with these numbers. Folks, let me say this. The PPP government would have been installed on August the 2nd, 2020. That is 270 days in government. When the PPP took over, the COVID deaths in Guyana was at 20. And for those persons who may want to correct me and tell me it's 21, I remember it being 20. So in 270 days, let us minus the 20 deaths. In about 5 months, we only had 20 deaths. 5 months, 20 deaths under the AP and UAFC. In 270 days of this administration, Minus the 20 deaths from this 295. What will you get? What will you get? More than one death a day. More than one death a day. So under the APNU AFC, you had in 5 months 10 deaths. Sorry, 20 deaths. Under the PPP, in 270 days, you had 275 deaths. More than one a day. It is quite sad. Quite sad, folks. And this number just keeps rising. We had five away from 300 persons. Folks, I can only implore you to ensure that you do the right thing. To ensure that you do the right thing. And the leader of the opposition, of course, commented on this. Commented on the amounts of the surge in COVID-19 deaths. He commented on it. And I want to bring that story to you. So we're going to bring that story now. Here's a story by Mr. Andrew Weeks on the COVID-19 deaths and what the leader of the opposition had to say.
Concerns on the rising cases of COVID-19 across Guyana during a recently held press conference at the office of the leader of the opposition.
We are seeing reports from the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization, which suggests that we have the new and deadlier strain of the virus in Guyana.
The opposition leader explained that it seems that the PPP have put their hands up in the air, declaring that whatever will be, will be.
We already know that Vice President Jagdeo had said that if people have to die, then so be it. That is his approach. That is their approach. The measures which this administration has put in place are weak and they are being selectively enforced.
Harmon said that the army buses that are being used for maintaining COVID-19 implemented curfew hours are overcrowded.
How could we be speaking about enforcing COVID measures and we are actually promoting it by cramming people into these buses? It's a bad policy and it has to be reviewed.
Harmon explained that the APNU AFC coalition will put out guidelines for citizens to observe for their own public safety. This, he noted, will aid to reduce the mismanagement of COVID-19 under the PPC. Andrew Weeks reporting for the Afternoon Rush.
Thank you very much, Andrew Weeks, reporting there. Interesting. The leader of the opposition bringing to you all of the information there, and he expressed it. He said, it seems as if these measures, and we've been saying this on the show. We've been saying this on the show for many weeks now. The measures implemented by this administration, now that the COVID-19 has gone on the rampage, in itself is still weak. There are businesses, many of them who are PPP aligned, still opening after hours, still holding big fancy parties. And of course, the president, the fraudulent president, the other day in his press conference said that they're going to be enforcing even more stringent measures, and they're going to deal with all of these people who are holding these parties. Let us see what will happen. Let us see what will happen. Folks, as we're on COVID, many persons who are hoping for a little relief during the COVID season saw the COVID cash grant people walk through their community, asked them if they owned the house, if they didn't have any proof that they own the home that they're living in, they weren't given the cash grant, while other persons, everybody in the house received the cash grant. And some persons were given pink slips. Pink slips. This is a pink slip government. We can get back to y'all in sometime soon. And we have highlighted this discriminatory approach to giving relief. It is inhumane. And we must account for all of the monies that were given, that were earmarked for relief. We've said it before, and I will say it again, that what is happening or what has happened, it is basically a PPP slush fund for their supporters. Their supporters who are given these supervisory roles in the field to administer this cash grant, to disburse the money. That is essentially what it is. So we have this pink slip, and I wonder if those persons who collected pink slips, some of them said they did not collect it. The people took it from them. I wonder what will happen with those persons with pink slip. Folks, we are going to be looking at this in detail. Recently, the leader of the opposition spoke also about this pink slip itation, if I want to say it like that, for a more colloquial word. This pink slip debacle, the COVID cash grant scandal. This is another scandal, Make no bones about it. This is another scandal. This is another racket. The information coming from what is happening on the ground points to the fact that this is a racket that is happening. Some persons are being exploited. Persons are being exploited so that they can give part of their cash grants back if they want to collect it. To give me 5,000, I can give you the 20. This is a serious matter. Let's go straight to the report by Ms. Nicole Telford on this particular issue.
Opposition leader Joseph Harmon calls on government to urgently address the mismanagement of the COVID-19 cash grant distribution.
Allied to this spread of COVID-19 is the relief which was provided by the Parliament of Guyana and which was distributed by the PPP regime. We saw the discriminatory manner in which the $7 billion approved in the National Assembly for COVID-19 cash grants to households was distributed in 2020 and 2021. And a second phase, whereby another empty promise to empty the pinks, to honor the pink slips was made.
Harmon noted that citizens across the country are given pink slips, while others are yet to receive the COVID-19 cash grant funds.
We have compiled a list of close to 1,710 households that received pink slips, and some who did not receive anything at all. They were just ignored by the distribution teams without any explanation whatsoever.
The opposition leader urges government to ensure that new disbursement of the COVID funds honors their promises to the thousands of citizens affected.
The finale had given the assurance that the Auditor General will conduct an audit of the first phase of this distribution of the cash grant. We are still awaiting the completion of that audit. Fortunately, the Village Voice newspaper did an interview with the Auditor General last week, and basically said that the work is not complete some important documents which are necessary to be provided by the Ministry of Finance has not been provided as yet, and gave an explanation that somebody died, and so the whole process is now held up.
The opposition leader said the APNU AFC coalition is urging the PPPC to include all Guyanese. Nicole Telford for Afternoon Rush.
Thank you very much, Nicole, for that report there. Folks, we don't need to elaborate on this. It is quite clear at this point in time that this COVID cash grant situation is another one of the PPP racket. Again, promises by the Auditor General to audit this thing have not come to fruition. And many persons may be afraid to call it what it is, but I'm not afraid to call it what it is. If you don't want to audit something, it tells me that something is wrong. And the people on the ground are stealing the money. And Guyanese parlance, the thief in the thing. That is the only thing that we can assume right now, given all of the reports that came in, that these people on the ground are being allowed to thief the money. That's how we gotta put it like that. Quite sad. If that wasn't the case, the Auditor General would have already audited the thing. This is the same line the PPP have taken when it comes to the Public Accounts Committee. They don't believe in transparency. They don't believe in accountability. They don't believe in openness. And as I said before, it is the economics of corruption. How it is that my friends and family and cronies can benefit as much as possible. This is the caring government that paraded around election time saying that we care about the Guyanese people. The Linden nurses, it is 51 days now since the Linden nurses have been protesting. They can't get relief. The president sat in his pajamas on the press conference to tell the nation that situations improve in Linden at the hospital. When the vice chair came on a few hours later, he said, look, a man went into the hospital with a chop wound, a huge cut on his arm, and he had to endure stitches without any pain reliever because the hospital only got those basic things. At the same time, the president is sitting telling the nation how, things improve at Linden Hospital. Where? This same caring government can't figure out how to help the nurses yet. But they run and throw $200 million in the sugarcane workers' lap. Let's see how long the Linden workers, the nurses in Linden will have to make noise for them to help them. This is the country we live in. This is the country we live in. Folks, let me change course. As we have a few minutes remaining, but I need to talk about this story. I want to say something here. Many of you would have seen earlier today Mr. Gavin Matthews arrested by the police, taken to the Brookdam police station. Huh? This is a man, he was out there protesting. He and about 4 other persons protesting, which is his right to do. Taken to the Brookdam police station. Right, in his live video, a group of police officers could be seen coming out of 2 vehicles and surrounding Matthews, arresting and informing him of an allegation leveled against him by a government minister. Well, I'm wondering if this government minister, Charles Ramson Jr., ain't got nothing else to do. That's why I'm wondering. Right? That is what I'm wondering. If this government minister ain't got nothing else to do with his time. He ain't got nobody he wants to send home at the ministry because he seems very, very good at doing that. They got more people they could send home, because apparently you don't got nothing to do. Let's dig into this story. Let's dig into it. Interested. Social media talk show host Gavin Matthews was arrested by the police this morning on accusations that he committed cybercrime by using his talk show to cause emotional distress and humiliation to Minister of Youth, Culture and Sports Charles Ramson Jr. What hogwash is this? What sort of madness I'm reading, listening to, and seeing going on in this country? The Guyana Police Force is allowing themselves to be used like a old paper cut by these ministers. Old plate cloth, apparently. Y'all can run and do these flunky business for these ministers. What sort of madness is this? Emotional distress. So, by that token, anybody that says anything about any minister and they feel a little upset about it and hurt their feelings, you could go and arrest that person. I am not responsible, or nobody's responsible for your feelings. If you want to be upset about something that somebody said, that is you. What sort of, this is blatant infringement on basic human rights. The freedom of speech. If I want to say that Charles Ramson is a complete idiot, then I should be that. If I want to say that Charles Ramson again nothing to do with his time, but listen to Gavin Matthews and get his feelings hurt, then I should be able to say that. But this is the same minister who allegedly sent the woman home because she was correcting him on what he should put on social media. The same minister. Now, by that same token, let me rationalize this and unpack the madness that is going on here. By this same token, folks, anybody that feels hurt about what is said on a talk show, for example, the Guyanese critic, because we know the Guyanese critic like talk foolishness. So somebody listening to him and they feel emotionally distressed by what he said, we should send the police to arrest them. I want people to understand the dangerous precedent that such action, the action that happened today with Gavin Matthews, is setting. We are setting up ourselves for chaos. The police is going to have a lot of work to do because everybody that feel away when something is said about them on the television or social media now would have the right to have that person arrested, because like any other citizen, Ramson is a citizen of Guyana, and if he has the right to send the police Gavin Matthews because he feels emotionally distressed, then I have the right to send the police for anybody who says something about me. Right? what. So me saying that the president looked like he wearing a pajama, the president could send somebody to arrest me because he must feel away. Ramson must have feelings, Johnny. He must have feelings, Johnny, because I don't understand this foolishness. Let me continue reading. According to the police making the arrest, it is alleged that on the 25th of March 2021 at Georgetown, you used the computer system to publish a video on Facebook that is derogatory with intent to humiliate and embarrass and to cause emotional distress to Charles Ramson. This is the hogwash that we getting on with in this country. This is the hogwash. Right? Emotional distress, embarrass and derogatory. Now let me say this. If this is true, all this has done is cause Mr. Charles Ramson to be viewed in a more foolish light. He will have lots more embarrassing and distressful things to listen to now. Because I believe that is embarrassing. Charles Ramson should be embarrassed for this to be read about him. Feelings, Johnny should be embarrassed. That is what is embarrassing. Because this is utter hogwash. You mean there is nothing else for you to be doing in the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport? You either work. You work for the Ramson. You don't get some paper to pretend that you're signing like Trump. Because it's public knowledge that you don't want to be at the ministry anyhow. You went into Parliament and talk all manner of things and can't tell people anything about what you have planned for Culture, Youth and Sport. Huh? You can't tell the nation one thing you have planned for Culture, Youth and Sport. But you could be emotionally distressed about what Mr. Matthews saying about you. You got none to do. PVP, I'll find something for Ramson do. Yeah, we don't know. Y'all put here the ministry that he didn't want to go at. The man went and studied oil and gas management and law and all kind of thing. And y'all take your put it at Culture, Youth and Sport. We don't know that Jack Dioy wants to be president. This is public knowledge. We know this. But better to do with your time. At least pretend like you want to be at the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport instead of watching Gavin Matthews show and getting your feelings hurt. And then going and send the police for him. Madness. Absolute madness. Folks, I'm so enraged at this story and incensed. It is not even funny. And I say this today. That I saw the signs of this creeping dictatorship. They ain't creeping anymore, they're running. One of the first things that they did when the president spoke about cybercrime and cyberbullying and the fact that they are going to be monitoring these people on social media. Because I like to unpack and analyze situation. Let me tell you what's been happening. People, they are intent on playing this propaganda game. But in order to do that, in order to do proper propaganda, you have to have control of the media sphere. They have NCN and DPI and the radio stations, and they got Channel 28, and they got Newsroom and Channel 65 News or whoever, and the Times newspapers. But where they don't have control is social media. Social media is the wild, wild west, where everybody is given a voice. And that's a problem for the PPP. Because especially in today's world, most people get their information from social media. Most people don't look at NCN. Nobody got time with NCN news. Everybody gets their news from social media. So this has been a thorn in the PPP side from day one. Because they can't censor what people say on social media. So this cybercrime bill now, this cybercrime act, they are going to try and exploit it to try and shut people up on social media. This is what we're seeing here. This is the beginnings of that. Because social media, especially Facebook, is causing them problems. Because when they say one thing in the propaganda on DPI or in the Guyana Times or Channel 28, people come and they get the facts on social media. You get the credible and valid information on social media. So they can try as much as possible and force stupidness down your throat on NCN and DPI and Guyana Times and Newsroom. But people know where to go and get information. So this has caused them great grief, great problem. But folks, I don't want to go on too long on this matter. As I said, we're running out of program time. We're actually over program time. And I have to let my colleague come in. I'll probably bring her in so that we can start the discussion and see what she thinks about this situation. Tomorrow, actually Saturday, please tune in at 6:30 for another special report. We're going to be looking, as I said, at the economics of corruption. Let me just take down Charles Ramson's face before I get more Vicks. Is Ramson again nothing to do? But I said on Saturday, we'll be looking at the economics of corruption, and we'll be looking at taking a deep dive into what is happening over there at GPL as the workers continue to protest. And we're going to take a look at that. And, we have our corruption watch. We have lots of work to do on the corruption watch because the PPP is innately corrupt. But let me invite in Miss Annette Ferguson for a little pre-discussion before we switch over to her program. MP Ferguson. I'm not hearing you. You hear me? I think we're getting a bit of feedback there. Right. I don't know what is happening. Right. But we're going to get her back in a few minutes as we prepare to head over to her show. Actually, folks, we're way into her time. Apologies for that, MP Ferguson. I know. Hold on. Let me just sort it out. Hold on. Audio. Right. Still getting the feedback. MP Ferguson, you hear me? Is your microphone on?
Oh? Hello?
I'm hearing you now.
Okay. Oh, God.
Right, I'm hearing you low though. I think you may need to fix something on your microphone. Folks, we're going to switch over in just a bit. I wanna thank you very much for being a part of the afternoon rush. We are going to be switching over and going to join Miss Annette Ferguson for Across the Wave. So you're going to see a little switch over. We're going to say thank you very much. As I always say, continue to work together for national development. Let me see if I can bring that.
A pleasant evening to you, Guyana. A pleasant evening to those of you joining me in the region, in the diaspora. A pleasant Thursday, um, April the 28th, no, April the 29th, April the 29th, 2021. So, welcome again to Across the Wave. With yours truly, Added Ferguson. I know that I have been out of program for some weeks now, but because of added responsibilities, avoided me from hosting the program. But that being said, I am happy to be with you in your homes this evening to share with you and, if possible, to leave off from where my colleague Randolph Pichillo would have left off earlier. But I want to say to you that over the weeks I had in program that your MPs, the APNU AFC members of parliament, we've been quite busy. Oh, Randy, are you coming in? Randy, we have been quite busy. I just lost my
I'm
colleague.
just joining to tell you that your microphone is low, Minister. You're a bit low. You're a bit low. We're not hearing you at all.
You're not hearing me? Hello? Hi, Randy?
Let
to you again. I trust that you're hearing me better. Um, Good. A pleasant evening to you. Welcome to another edition of Across the Wave with yours truly, Annette Ferguson. Permit me to proffer my apologies for not hosting program over might have been 3 months, 3 weeks now, but it is as a result of added responsibilities taking precedence. But that being said, I am here this evening with you. So I thank you very much for joining me this evening for this program where I will be sharing with you a lot of information as it relates to what is happening um, in our country, um, nationally and also regionally, and in some respect, what is happening at the level of the um, local organs. But I must let you know that over the past 2 weeks, your MPs, a Partnership for National Unity and the Alliance for Change, we have been extremely busy, doing a lot of outreaches, hosting of outreaches in regions. Just last weekend, we were in the county, that county, Cinderella County, and we all know it as Essequibo. So we were in Pomeroon, Supernam last Sunday, where we, had an extensive fan out from Charity End way up to Good Hope, Pomona End last Sunday, where MPs were able to share with our membership and also supporters what is happening in the country, what the government has been doing since they took office, and we were able to bring them up to date as it relates to the elections petition, which the decision was made on Monday, the 26th. But later down in the program, I'll touch briefly on that. That being said, the week before, we were in region number 5, and that's the Mahaika Berbice region there. And like what happened over last weekend, we did an extensive fan out in the region from Rosignol way up to Maiconi, where we share with our supporters and our membership what is happening. Because, these little pocket and um, bottom house meetings, community meetings, they're very important because these focal meetings allow you to interact with your members, let them know exactly what is happening, and also let them share with you what are some of the things they're faced with, what are some of the challenges they're that are affecting them from since August 2nd, 2020 to current. And I must let you know that persons were very much bold enough to let us know exactly what are some of the things that are happening in the region. The discriminatory practices, the vindictiveness, the favoritism, and the whole nisms that the PPP continues to portray on Guyanese citizens. Just in region number 5, I had 2 meetings in region number 5. One at Haidam, and the first one was held in Seafield. And I can tell you this: throughout those meetings, though they were at separate locations, there's one common complaint keep repeating itself, and these are different people, but it is the same issues that the people in Seafield are facing, are the very issues persons in Haidam are facing also. What was even glaring is that the people in Haidam reported to me and my colleague, the Honorable Dr. Nicolette Henry, she was with me at Haidam. And what the people reported to us was this: some part in that area, the dams had overflowed. The dams were actually breached. The ocean separating the land, and the People's Progressive Party civic no sorry the government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, they went into the region and made promises to the people that were, look, hey, so let me continue. Yes, so as I was saying earlier, is that the persons in Haidam, they reported that they were affected, their lands were actually threatened because of the overflow from the sea, and all of their cash crops and their poultry were actually destroyed. And the ministry had an outreach in the region where commitment was given that they will ensure that seedlings, whether ducklings, I think chicken feed, also chicken, were going to be distributed across the region to those persons, the farmers who were actually affected. But let me say this: what was disturbing to hear is that when those items went into the region, you know who benefited? Not the farmers who were solely affected. The government ensured through the Ministry of Agriculture, they ensured that their supporters receive all the poultry, all the chickens, all the chicken feed. And the persons who they perceive not to be their supporters, they did not receive not one chicken, much less chicken feed. So, it is very much disturbing to see what is happening, to see how our people are being affected. You cannot speak about oneness or one Guyana when ordinary people continue to be affected because of the policies, some of the policies that this government, rolled out, in a discriminatory fashion. And I recall that my colleague, the Honorable Comrade Aubrey Norton, some weeks ago, he did call out the government. He did call out the government to show that, well, look, indeed, what is happening from the COVID distribution right down to the distribution of whether hampers or basic things that ordinary people should be benefiting from, they weren't benefiting from. So I just want to let you know that these outreaches that we have been hosting, they're very much informative because 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 we we're getting to, from our people, what is actually happening in the region. So I want to say to the government, you're there to serve the people. And let us continue to serve the people, serve Guyanese, not a few, serve the people of Guyana. That is what you're being placed there for. The other topic I wish to touch on this evening, or even just before I move to that topic, I want to let the residents in region number 3 that sometime in the new month, the APNU AFC members of parliament will also be conducting outreaches in the various communities there in region number 3. So I would encourage you to, just tune in so that you can get the necessary information as it relates to those outreaches, who will be where the meetings will be held, what time, amongst every other thing. The other topic I wish to touch on is the COVID. My brothers and sisters, COVID is real. COVID is real. Just before coming in this afternoon from the road, I briefly made a stop, and the vendor on the roadside was like, what is really happening? I recall when the APNU AFC government was in office, from 6, when dead 6 p.m. or just before 6 p.m., this road here used to be clear of traffic, clear of people. Now it's like anything happening, nobody cares. So my simple response to her was, look, the government ain't care about COVID. The government right now is about wealth over health. As individuals, we have to ensure that we protect ourselves. So you got to ensure you wear your mask, you wash your hands, and you maintain your 6 feet apart from each other. So I also want to let you know that, let me provide a breakdown, the dashboard. The number of confirmed cases in Guyana is 13,106 as of to date. 13,106. The number of new cases for today alone is 143. Number of persons in COVID-19 ICU, 16. Total confirmed cases by gender, male, 6,560. Female, 6,456. So if you're to look between the male female ratio, it clearly shows that the males are heavily affected, because the males are the ones who have been contracting this COVID more than females. Number of persons in institutional isolation, 88. Number of persons in home isolations, 1,597. Number of recovered cases, 11,110. Number of deaths, 295. My brothers and sisters, for this month alone, for the month of April 2021, we have seen the numbers would have increased drastically from the previous months. So for the month of April alone, I think we're now touching close to 60 deaths, and we have not even yet completed the month of April. Tomorrow would be the last day in the month of April. So if today alone we have 143 new cases, but I wouldn't want to see what the figures would look like tomorrow, being 30th of April 2021. So the deaths alone, 295. So therefore, this is saying something to us. And I want to remind viewers and listeners that when the installed government came to office on the 2nd of August 2020, the deaths they inherited from the APNUFC government were 21 deaths in less than 10 months. In less than 10 months, 295. And what is even glaring is that the measures the installed government has put in place, they're not ensuring that these measures are enforced. They're not ensuring that these measures are enforced. When we were in government and from patient zero as at 11th of March 2020, you know what we did? The APNU government ensured that systems were put in place, though we hadn't monies for 2020, we hadn't any budget for 2020, but we were utilizing 1/12 of the previous year's budget. I mean, you couldn't do any capital works with those monies because we hadn't a full budget for 2020. Because we were heading to an elections, so there was no budget passed for 2020 by the APNU AFC government. The last budget was as at 31st of December 2019. So what we had to do is to ensure that we spent 1/12 of the 2019 budget to accommodate whatever we had, right? Whatever the budget was for 2019. But you know what? We were able to modify and to retrofit what once used to be a hotel into a health facility to take care of those persons who would have been affected with the COVID disease. And we heard all sorts of negative remarks. But I have to thank God that when they came into government by installed means, they were able to inherit a facility that was the infrastructure was there, minus, the furniture and the other fittings. But the building was there ready to be outfitted with the machinery and also the furnishings and what's not. So 295 deaths as at 29th of April 2021 is too much. One is even too much. And as I said before, the measures that the government has in place, it seems to me that they have no intention whatsoever to review the measures and to put better systems in place so that they can control this runaway horse. And we in the APNU AFC, we as an opposition, we have been calling upon the government to let's work together because this COVID-19 is a national crisis. It's a pandemic where lives are being lost. And we're saying that, well, look, we as opposition, we are ready to work with the government so that the lives of our people can be safeguarded. But you know what? No, they don't want that. They don't want that. Every night at a certain hour, we are seeing Dr. Frank Anthony on national television reading something, bringing us up to date with the whole situation on COVID. But we have been doing our little bit in the opposition to ensure that our people are properly educated. The leader of the opposition would have called out the government for the lack, the incompetence, their ineptness of handling COVID 19. You have bars opening. You walk the streets of Georgetown. You want to know if Guyana is COVID free. How can Guyana be COVID free when the death rates, we continue to lose 3, 4, in some cases 5 lives one day? You pass at the bars. You want to know what is happening. Pass at the marketplaces. You want to know what is happening. The minibuses transporting people, 100% capacity. When our measure, the measures that we have, is that minibuses were only allowed, I think it's between 30 to 50% capacity. Even the speedboats. But now everything is 100% capacity when people's lives are at risk. So my plea to you people out there is that COVID is real and you need to get real, because this installed administration, they cares absolutely nothing about your health. You have to be responsible. Look, just today, 2 hours ago, news source, article carried by news source, 2 women ages 59 and 63 are the latest to die from COVID-19 in Guyana. They are both from Region 3. The death toll now is 295. So we're closely heading to the 300 mark. When at August 2nd, 2020, we were 21. 21. So now you have the vaccines are here. 3 sets of vaccines. You have the AstraZeneca vaccine, you have the Sinovac vaccine, and the Sinopharm vaccine. So I personally would like to encourage each and every one of you to take the vaccine. Yes, you may have doubts because for you may not have been properly educated by the authorities, how effective these vaccines are. But we have been told that I think it is a Spuntech vaccine has about 93% efficacy. I think the AstraZeneca has about 90% efficacy. And I'm trying to remember the percentage for the other vaccine. But the bottom line here, people, is that taking the vaccine would avoid you from contracting the virus. Taking the vaccine would also allow your immune system to be boosted. So I want to make this public call to each and every one of you to get vaccinated. We know that when the AstraZeneca vaccine came, they said it was persons between 60 years and over had to take the vaccine. Those were the persons, within that age range was treated as priority. Then they moved from the 40 upwards, 40 and above. Then now we have them calling on 18 years old and above. So parents, adults, guardians, whomever you be, my encouragement to you is to encourage the young ones to take the vaccine. Yes, I can publicly state that I haven't taken the vaccine as yet, but I do intend to become vaccinated. So as a national leader, I want to say to each and every one of us, once you're 18 years and above, take the vaccine. And if you're not getting the necessary information from the authorities, I would want to encourage you to Google, do your own research. and learn more about the efficacious of these vaccines. The other thing I want to say to you is that there are many health centers, there are many tents set up in regions all across the 10 administrative regions where persons can go at any hour of the day to get vaccination, to become vaccinated. Randy, you're in with me?
I have decided to stay and be a part of what you're doing because I find the discussion very interesting. So what we have to do, because we may have an issue with the mic, when I'm not speaking, I'll mute my mic and you can do the same thing. Right. So, I like your discussion, especially as it relates to the measures put in place by the PPP. Well, lack of enforcement, so to speak. And I want to point out to your viewers that you're stating that it's 21 deaths when the PPP took over. Now it's 295. So if we do simple mathematics, simple deduction, simple reduction, we can realize that it has been more than one death a day under this administration. More than one death a day under the administration is quite sad. Go ahead.
Sharing just before you came in, I was, making that current call to all on sundries, all tuned in here, once they're 18 years and over, to get vaccinated. Because though the information is not fully forthcoming, from the authorities, we know that many of our people are below the literacy rate, you know, and I guess many persons might understand by way of images. Certain people, learn through images and signs. And I think more needs to be done in that regard, whereby, those who cannot, mambo in terms of reading and writing for themselves, they can learn through these visuals. So I think the authorities need to do more. I know for a fact, because just last Monday, I I was at a meeting with other political parties, of which the government hosted through the Ministry of Public Health, whereby they were actually bringing political parties up to scratch as it relates to the vaccination, and also trying to get from us to encourage our supporters, our members within the wider spread of the regions to get vaccinated. And I was pleasantly surprised to know that apart from, because they keep referring to civil society, and in my mind, I was questioning civil society. Where is civil society? Who is civil society? Because and I know that we don't have civil society in Guyana, because we saw exactly what played out just after the March 2nd, 2020 election. So civil society might have just, absorbed itself into a political, a particular political party of their choice. But that being said, I know for a fact that some churches are on board, because the church that I fellowship, First Assembly of God on Durban Street, I know for a fact that we do have that has been designated a vaccinated site. So persons from within the lodge, the Wortmanville, the Working Rust area, within that catchment area, they too can, go there, find out what they will get the information, and they can become vaccinated. So my encouragement again, Randy, to our viewers is that each and every Guyanese must be vaccinated. As at Monday 26th, I think the percentage of persons who might have been vaccinated, I think was just under 26%, right? The number of persons who would have received their first dose, I think, was 121,000 and change. I can't recall the other figures. And the number of persons who would have received their double dose, their full dose, I think it now stands at 225,000 persons so far, right? So I think the target that the authorities would really like to hit is the 500,000 mark. 500,000 mark. So we're still off a long way. So the 80 or less than 80% remaining to be vaccinated, we have to ensure as leaders, as national leaders, as members of a political party to encourage our people to become vaccinated. Randy, I don't know if you had your vaccination as yet. I haven't taken mine. I don't know.
I have not been vaccinated as yet. Unfortunately or fortunately, I had the COVID 19 virus. Myself and Christopher Jones and Sherrod Duncan, we all had it at the same time. So my body, would have created those same antibodies. But I still intend to, at some point in time, review the science and make a decision. I like to say to people that you have to do your research. I know you are encouraging persons to do their research into the AstraZeneca and the Sputnik and these things, and it's very important. But before we change the topic, MP, I would crave my indulgence because the leader of the opposition made some comments on the PP's handling of COVID-19. I would want to share that video with the audience before we change the topic.
Leader of the opposition, Joseph Harmon, expressed concerns on the rising cases of COVID-19 across Guyana during a recently held press conference at the office of the Leader of the Opposition.
We are seeing reports from the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization, which suggests that we have the new and deadliest strain of the virus in Guyana.
The opposition leader explained that it seems that the PUP have put their hands up in the air, declaring that whatever will be, will be.
We already know that Vice President Jagdeo had said that if people have to die, then so be it. That is his approach. That is their approach. The measures which this administration has put in place are weak and they are being selectively enforced.
Harmon said that the army buses that are being used for maintaining COVID-19 implemented curfew hours are overcrowded.
How could we be speaking about enforcing COVID measures and we are actually promoting it by cramming people into these buses? It's a bad policy and it has to be reviewed.
Harmon explained that the APNU-AFC coalition will put out guidelines for citizens to observe for their own public safety. This, he noted, will aid to reduce the mismanagement of COVID-19 under the PPC. Andrew Weeks reporting for the Afternoon Rush.
Right. So, interesting. Let me just say this before I bring you back in. This COVID-19 buses that you're packing people in, I don't understand the logic behind it. I don't know. You might be able to explain.
You want an explanation from me, Randy? I think the best persons to provide, an explanation on that particular action is those in authority. Because for me, as an individual looking out, I cannot understand anybody with sense, anybody who would want to ensure that the lives of its citizens are protected, would want to cram its citizens into a bus when you know that they're supposed to be, maintaining or being 6 feet apart from each other. You would have already picked them up from a clustered area. And you're now putting them into a more clustered, you're squeezing them into a bus. You're squeezing them into a bus. So for me, Randy, the actions by the authority, I'm lost for a proper word to describe them. But I can only say that such actions would show or would tell us citizens that this government, they have no action plan, they don't know the know-how, they're totally lost when it comes to dealing with COVID. But you know, Randy, I don't know if this would be an appropriate example to use to describe the actions. You know, the dog on the bone situation. You know, the dog, crossing the bridge with the bone in his mouth, and what he saw, his shadow in the water. So he thought it was another dog. So you hustle, you already got your bone in your mouth, and you're now hustling to, jump into the river to get that other bone. But so it clearly shows that this government has no plan. They're totally lost. COVID, I don't think they understand the way in how to deal with this pandemic, because they do not have a plan. And we have to remind our people that the PPP, anything the PPP put their hands on, we know they don't do it with a plan. Whether feasibility, whether a proposal, they don't have that. They wake up one tomorrow morning, I don't know, with some vision they got, and they believe that by tomorrow they can execute this vision. It doesn't work so. It doesn't work so, Randy.
As you're talking about plan, Minister, they we saw what played out in the Ministry of Education. Schools reopen. No, it's not gonna reopen. We can close it. We know we can do. We can figure out. They seem as though the Minister of Education is making it up as she goes. And as we talk about that, we see this report saying that the schools will, Education Minister encourages parents and teachers to get vaccinated, and schools continue to be closed throughout the month of May. What are your views on this, on an attempt at least to reopen schools?
How, if the Minister of Education and her team are planning to open schools, I'm really, really sorry that this is the approach they would want to take.
They said the schools will remain closed throughout May.
Well, schools gonna remain closed throughout May, Randy. What, you expect them, or the minister of herself and team, they expect to open schools in May? Our figures continue to grow. Randy, don't let me fool myself. The figures continue to grow. So because of the figures continuing to grow, schools will have to remain closed. Schools will have to remain closed. And I can tell you this, Randy, earlier in the day, I was in Region 3 in a village. When I checked my time, I said, man, this is just before 3 o'clock. You got young school-age children who's supposed to be at home in front of some computer or something doing schoolwork. They're in the streets playing cricket at that time. So for me, Randy, while school remains closed, the onus is on the Ministry of Education to ensure that those education officers, the welfare officers, are sent out into areas to have we call it, like, to do a research, not really a research, but to ensure that children are not being on the road at the time when they're supposed to be at home in front of some computer. So the Ministry of Education and the schools administrators, they will have to play their role to ensure that adequate work is given to the pupils or students to keep them busy. Because if the students are not getting work, or if the pupils are not getting work, believe you me, they will find time to idle on the street corner. And that is what I saw today, early in the day. So the Ministry of Education must put better systems in place to ensure that while school remains closed at least our children are adequately equipped with schoolwork.
That is such a problem, and I tell you this: there are many, many students who have not done anything for close to a year, over a year since school has been closed or regular school has been closed, and it's quite sad. I remember talking about education being a right, and the posture of the PPP regime is to close down the Ministry of Public Telecommunication that was providing to, and which they could have used to help ensure that these students are given what is a right, whether it be tablets or internet. The government should have assumed a position or a posture of ensuring that now that the dynamics would have changed and education now has to be delivered through these different media. Different means you have to deliver your education. Is not coming to school and sit down. That student still has that right, whether they can go to school or not, to have that education. And to be able to put that in place, you have to use the technology. And instead of expanding on what was being done at the Ministry of Public Telecommunication, they closed that down. So they don't really have a plan, like you said. There's no plan now. So we as we go along, we figure out how to reopen schools.
Yeah, and Randy, I just want to make this point here. Just this afternoon, it was brought to my attention that in the Dartmouth community in region number 2, we had opened there a center, community center, and under the APNU FC government, we would have outfitted that center with internet. Lo and behold, I was told this afternoon that the government, the regional administration, they took away, they disconnected the internet from that facility. So I use that example to say this, that if you as a government can do such a vindictive act, therefore you're suffering the children, you understand me, from that opportunity to get their schoolwork done, to get their assignments and whatever else they have to do done in a timely manner. And this is unfair, and it's not only in the Dartmouth community. I was also told in Surrey on the Essequibo coast, they did the same thing. I was told even in somewhere in region number 9, many of the ICT hubs established under the APNU AFC government, where the young Amerindian or indigenous lad or student could have gone to those hubs, do their research, get their assignments done in a timely manner. All of that has been taken away from the community. Is it so? When you talk about oneness, when you talk about a president for all or a leader for all, when you talk about one Guyana, what are you really talking about? It is just empty words being uttered without any proper actions being put in place. And it is a sad, sad thing. And the time has come, Randy, for me, our people, more so the parents are the ones who are heavily affected. But you know what? They will be, murmuring amongst themselves because people are fear. They're afraid to speak out against this illegitimate cabal because they know the repercussions that will come once they take, they present themselves before a microphone and, song as though they're condemning the government. But it's not a matter that you're condemning the government. If the government doing stupidness, Randy, you got to call them out. Because at the end of the day, who is suffering? It is
Yeah.
my child. It is your child. Because, they cannot complete their assignments in a timely manner because of the lack of proper internet accessibility. The other thing, Randy, rather than the budgets of 2021 and 2020, focusing primarily on how we're going to combat COVID-19, how we will save the lives of our people. You see budgets, $95 million to buy brand new vehicle. couple hundred millions to buy tractors and all these things. I am not saying that tractors and vehicles should not be purchased, but a time will come when those will be purchased. What you needed to do now is to inject more into the health sector, inject more into the communities, inject more into the regions so that our people would be able to fight COVID, to fight off this deadly disease. So, Randy, as I said before, they have no plan. But you know what? They will say that we hadn't no plan because I need to remind our people when patient zero was discovered in Guyana and we started to put actions in place. You know what, Randy? This is what we have. They said we had no plan, but this is our plan here. National Action Plan for Public Health, right? And it detailed everything to fight against COVID. The other thing, yes, everything to fight against COVID before and after. This is the plan, a comprehensive plan the APNU AFC government has put together to fight COVID 19. And the People's Progressive Party, this installed government, cannot be bold as I am tonight to show this nation what their plan look like. But you know what? I am happy that I can show the people what the APNU had in place.
And not only that, if I can remind persons that the APNU AFC would have invited the then opposition PVP to be a part of the task force. And instead of working together, what did they do? They went and create their pseudo task force and parade it on TV as if they're doing something. And this is the same attitude. They weren't interested in working to prevent COVID. And so what can you expect from them now in government?
Well, Randy, what we can expect from them in government now is the same thing that we were brainwashed with, or not we, but some persons were brainwashed with just before the declaration of the August 2020 declaration after the elections there in March of 2020. So, Randy, as I said before, they claim, as you rightfully put, that they had a plan. But yet, when they came to government, they couldn't say to the populace, this is our action plan to fight against COVID. And 9 months, close to 9 months, heading to 10 months in government, and still you can't show the people of Guyana what your comprehensive plan is to fight COVID-19. Randy, COVID is real. And we have to hit the government on this because they're not serious. How can you be serious when you got bars open late at nights? How can you be serious when you got the curfew from 4:30 in the morning up to 10:30 p.m. at night? So you're telling me it's all right for Guyanese to sport in large numbers. That is right. So, Randy, the government needs to get their act together. They need to get their act together.
And you know, I asked this question with all of what is going on in Guyana. We see COVID, and we can only touch on so many things a night because we only have this amount of time. Because we could go all night talking about where the PVP is heading in wrong direction. They seem as if they can't manage. I used to normally say they can't manage themselves out of a paper bag. But the reality is right now that it seems as if they don't have any work to do, because we see Ramson sending people to arrest Gavin Matthews for something Gavin said on his show. So we have to be careful before you see the police come for us, because it said in the report that the minister had emotional distress. I don't understand it. I really don't understand. So what are we starting?
I just don't understand. You know, I don't know where Guyana is heading, Randy. It seems as though, freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of belonging, all of that our Constitution speaks to. It seems as though, you can no longer exercise your constitutional right. But this is the way the PPP will try to muzzle us. They don't like when the facts are being told. They don't like when they don't like to be challenged with the truth. They don't like when educated people are educating the populace, because the mantra of the People's Progressive Party Civic is to muzzle our people, is to send threats, fear of intimidation to our people, and try to victimize our people, get the police to harass us. But you know what, Randy? We will continue to speak truth. We will continue to let the public and the populace know what we will continue to let the populace know what this cabal, this illegitimate cabal, is doing. We will continue to call them out for their ineptness, for their incompetence of managing the economy, of managing the fight against COVID. We will continue to expose and dispose of the PPP's wrongdoing. And they will not. So, Randy, as you rightfully said, you got to be very mindful when you're calling names. Because I know they must be setting cast nets for me, people like me.
You
So
know,
soon as I open, the setting cast nets for me. So
you,
I have to be very, very mindful, because I don't want a libelous action to be taken against me. So
well, let me
I
say
have to be
this.
very cautious.
Let me jump in and say this here. I find it to be thin ice and dangerous ground to for Guyana to go down this road, especially
Yeah.
when the legislation is so vague and so loose as it relates to the Cybercrime Act. Now it seems as though you can't say anything about anybody because this person can say to you that, listen, I'm emotionally distressed, and you degraded me, and hence I can send the police to arrest you. It is a dangerous precedent that we're setting, and you know it speaks volumes, and we have to be alarmed by this. We cannot just brush this under the carpet as, look, the minister and Gavin Matthews. It has implications for everybody who is coming and expressing their opinions, because at the end of the day, I am entitled to my opinion. And if I say, that I believe that Ramson is a complete idiot, then I have the right to believe that. That's my belief. I have the right to say that. And you can't tell me that I shouldn't believe that Ramson is an idiot, right? If I say that Mr. Banty Lion is an idiot, I have the right to say that. And you can't send the police to arrest me for expressing my opinion about you. And that's really a dangerous precedent we're setting in this country. And I hope that the Press Association, I know Mr. Gavin Matthew is probably not a member of the Press Association, but we have people like Critic on social media every year berating people and causing people emotional stress. So wonder if somebody goes into the police station and said, look, I am making a report on the basis of the Cybercrime Act that Mr. Critic is defaming me and he is berating me, and I'm emotionally stressed. When are they going to pick him up? It's sad.
It is a very sad day for Ghana. And Randy, it clearly shows that no longer do we see this being respected. No longer this book, the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, being respected. Because Randy, you know very well, what happened, after March 2nd, 2020 elections with all the court battles. This was trampled upon. And for me, it is still being trampled upon. So where are we heading as a country? Is it do as you want, say as you want? Is it lawlessness, which would lead to anarchy? This is where Guyana is heading. So as responsible leaders, we have to ensure that we act in conformity of what this is Guyanese Bible. The Christians got the Holy Bible, but for Guyanese, the Constitution is our Bible. It speaks to our fundamental rights as Guyanese. And you must be able to understand what are your rights. So for me to sit here and to call someone or to refer or to show a photo of someone in authority, and they now become distressed because me showing a photo of them, then police can come after me. Well, that speaks volume. Randy, that speaks volume. And as a national leader, one who represents the people in the National Assembly, no one will shut me up because I will ensure that I act in conformity with what the laws of Guyana speaks to. So I'm sorry that, I don't know what is the latest update. I don't know if you have that on Mr. Gavin Matthews.
Well, the information reaching our desk is that Mr. Matthews was released on $100,000 bail. Of course, again, just the act of sending the police to arrest Mr. Matthews. And I saw the video. I reviewed the video in contention where Mr. Ramson is alleging that what Mr. Matthews said has caused him emotional stress and has defamed him, so to speak, right? Mr. Matthews expressed his opinion on Mr. Ramson, and he said he has a right to that opinion. He said that, look, hey, this is how I feel about you. So we're in a country where you can't express how you feel about a person. Can't.
Randy, just the other day, I think a couple of weeks ago, the installed president would have made, utterances about the leader of the opposition. But we didn't see the leader of the opposition behaving childish or petty, coming out to say, "Oh, I feel distressed because of what the installed government president would have said." We would have seen when Mr. Granger was president of this country, how many persons, the names that he was called, what it did to him in the National Assembly. He didn't play childish and be petty to come out and say, "Oh, I feel childish," or I feel distress. You understand me? So it seems as though when certain, people of certain skin pigmentation speaks, other people are offended. But when those other people speak and they offend us, we must, like the dog, put their tails between their legs and say absolutely nothing. Randy, the time has come, and I applaud Mr. Matthews for the work he has been doing. I note this morning too, Kadaki on his program on Camps TV this morning, he said that he learned that there's a threat on his life, and he has the information of the persons who are to commit the act, and he was going to lodge a report at Vigilance Police Station this morning. So it seems as though the minute you criticize this government, they want to shut you up. Don't forget Kwame Ewing. Don't forget Crumb Ewing.
Courtney Cormiering,
Let
yes.
let us yeah, Courtney Crumb Ewing. Let us not forget Waddle. You understand me? These men fought. They spoke out against victimization, discrimination of people of their kind. And we saw the consequences they faced. And what were their consequences? Vet by the hands of Guyanese. Death by the hands of their own brothers in this land. Randy, the other thing I want to touch on quickly because I got 5 minutes into program time is that we would have seen this 20,000, and it's something that I have to really unpack. You know, I'm stealing your term.
Go ahead, unpack.
You know, this 20,000 online scholarship. Randy, I briefly looked at some of the courses to be offered. If it's business management, economics, IR, these things are offered right here at the University of Guyana. Number one, we don't know whether these universities in India and these far off countries that these scholarships will be done through. We don't know whether these institutions or these universities were accredited. I don't know what is happening. The only thing I can see here, Randy, just this afternoon, I was in a meeting and I was told that they went into region number 1, Randy, and the people who they tried targeting to complete the forms, the people can't read, the people can't write, the people don't even have a basic first degree, the people don't even have 5 CXE subjects. They went to my Curie. It's the same thing, Randy. So this thing here, so for me, while the initiative might be a very good one, Randy, it brings us right back to square one. Where is the plan? Where is the plan? Was a study done to ascertain the needed skills of our people? We have now moved into a new direction, oil and gas. That is where our focus ought to be. If you want to give young people opportunities to be awarded scholarships, put them in what the country is now moving towards. We will need petroleumists. We will need more marinists. You understand me? We would need more probably mechanics and all manner of things. That is where our efforts should be, Randy. So something is definitely wrong because number one, we don't know what's the total cost. You're hearing about 20,000 scholarships, but let me tell you something. I know budget 2021 under the Ministry of Public Service. I think the budget for scholarship and subsidies, right? Yes, scholarships and subsidies is 2 something billion Guyana dollars. And I recall, and just earlier this week, one of my colleagues, she was reminding us that the number of persons for scholarship for this year is 4,000 and something. Now all we hearing is about 20,000 and 20,000 scholarships. We don't know what's the cost. We don't know what are some of the programs, whether a thorough study or assessment was done to determine how effective it will be for our country's development.
Yeah.
We don't know who are the likely targets. All we see is a set of billboards around the place, like if it's elections, we preparing for. You go down Lamaha Street. Go down Lamahan Street. From the time you swing from Main Street, North Main Street, east into Lamaha Street, way down up to Vicendian Road and Irving Streets. A set of scrolls with photos on it, including Mark Phillips, the installed Prime Minister photos image or portrait is on those scrolls.
Mhm.
Scholarship. I got my scholarship and I this and I that. Is it that you're using these things for elections? Is it that we're preparing for elections? How much it
Yeah.
costs taxpayers to put these big billboards around the damn place? Um, Randy, I'm upset about it because it seems as though by these mere images before Guyanese eyes, it's to play into the psyche of Guyanese.
Mhm.
For let they feel or let Guyanese feel that the government doing good. What good, Randy? What good? You concentrating on scholarships when many people ain't even get the 25,000 grant COVID grant. Many households still waiting for the 25,000. Many people didn't get that pink slip. But you're focusing on scholarship. I'm not against the scholarship. What I am against, Randy, it is the method. Nothing is properly thought out by this government. Nothing. Nothing. You saying, oh, Paramakatoy, Cato. No, Randy, how you gonna go to Cato trying to attract young people for this scholarship program? What assessment was done?
Mhm.
The area of Cato has
Yeah.
the necessary infrastructure in place. Good, because if you're talking about online scholarships, you got to have high bandwidth. Because when the lectures got to be done via email or Zoom, when the classes are being done online, when the assignments got to be submitted, when they we call it, you got to do your research online. Cato has proper internet there. Now who are you fooling? We in the city here, Randy, we know the challenges we face with the internet, much less those persons who are living in the far-flung regions. So for me, Randy, it's all a gimmick from
Yeah.
this government.
And,
But I
and as we,
want to say, and I want to encourage young people, whether you're from Dartmouth in Region 2, whether you're from Buxton on the east coast of Demerara, whether you're from Agricola Pleasance, if they set up coming to wherever they're going, I am saying to you, take the opportunity because at the end of the day, it's your taxpayers' dollar that are being used to fund these programs.
definitely. And as we talk, MP, about this idea of whether or not these institutions are accredited, I came across one of the well, the let me say, let's put it like this. They say deemed as a university. Let me just pull this up for the audience, and we need to know. We need to have an idea whether these things are accredited. Let me show you a picture that someone sent about one of the institutions that these scholarships are coming through. Right? Let me just pull this up. Hold on. Right. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Right. I don't know if you can see it here. Right. And it has there at again deemed. Let me pull it up here. It says deemed as a university. So, well, is it a university? Is it not a university? I don't know. It's deemed as a university. You know, I say this in all seriousness. We have to know whether or not these things are um, actually accredited. And the person highlighting the segment, they're wondering whether or not, look, is it a university? It says deemed as a university. So if I go get, I choose this particular institution or this particular scholarship or this particular program, will I be wasting my time? That's the question that I need to know. Will I be wasting my time? But these are questions that need to be answered. As you said, as an MP, you're in Parliament, and you have the right to ask these questions. And again, you have been saying um, the opposition MPs have been making it clear that they're not getting the answers to these questions that they ought to. In
Well,
all the
well,
sectors.
well, Randy, I have submitted a series of questions, because I am actually responsible for the the housing and water sector in the National Assembly. And I've been asking the installed ministers there, tons of questions. So I have I am still awaiting the responses because I think perhaps on my next program I will let the viewers know what are some of the questions I would have posed to the honorable member and whether I have received responses for those questions. I want to further say this is that on the scholarship, on the scholarship, for the scholarship programs, my colleague, the Honorable Tabitha Sarabuhali, she she has responsibility for the public service ministry. So I know for a fact that she has tabled a series of questions to the member Sonia Parag.
Yeah.
So we're yet to receive those questions, and other MPs, my other colleagues, they too have been asking a whole lot of questions. And I think just in yesterday's Village Voice Online,
Yeah.
our chief whip, there was an exclusive interview done with our chief whip, where the opposition shared its concern because it has been 2 months now, or heading to 2 months since the last parliament met. The last parliament was held on the 4th of March. That's when the 373.1 billion budget was passed. Since then, the parliament has not met. Is it that the government has something to hide? Because all of the concerns that we have, yes, we can highlight the concerns here, but once questions are asked of the ministers to provide responses, we got to have those things tabled in the National Assembly. There's so much work to be done in the National Assembly, and still we are not getting the National Assembly to be held on a continuous basis where we can deliberate and do the people's business.
Yes,
Because
MK.
that's the purpose for the National Assembly.
Yeah. And I think we have to unpack those issues and many other things and some other shows because I'm getting signal from the production team here that Mr. Sher Duncan is ready to go with In the Ring. I know I cut into your time earlier, so my apologies for that. We had a very interesting discussion. We have to do this more often. We have to, maybe you can come on some afternoons and let us unpack some of these issues.
Will do, Randy. Will do. So I
Right.
want to. So since it's across the wave, let me take the opportunity to thank you, Randy, for coming in and co-hosting with me, so we can bring the necessary issues to the fore, so that our people can know exactly what is happening. So I want to thank you, viewers, for tuning in to yet another edition of Across the Waves. I do look forward to you joining me next week at 6:30 p.m. for another program. But before I take my final leave, I want to encourage you, just as I did early up in the program, to ensure that you get vaccinated. Please visit the various health centers, the tents set up, the churches in your community, and get vaccinated. Please be safe. Please ensure that you wear your mask, wash your hands, and maintain your social distancing. Please, please, COVID is real, and we don't want to lose you, our beloved people. So once again, thank you for joining me. Do stay tuned. At 8, my colleague Sherrod Duncan will now come in with his program, In the Ring. May God bless you. May God bless your family. May God bless this beautiful country of ours called Guyana. Mind you, happy Labor Day on Saturday, May 1st. It's Workers' Day. So in advance, happy Labor Day to all public servants and to all workers here in Guyana. We love you. God bless you all. Thank you.